Works. All right. Welcome everybody. I'm here for the first time because I don't speak Hungarian. I was actually hoping to be a little bit more at the conference at the weekend, but then I realized it's all in Hungarian. So maybe next time we make it in English, and then I'll be here the whole time. But before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Patrick. I'm CPO at Wunder. Today I was asked to talk a little bit about Wunder, formerly Wunder Car. Maybe some of you just know it under that name, but we recently rebranded to Wunder. I want to talk a little bit about the journey that we took in the last 1.5 years. But before I start, I also want to introduce myself and a little bit the team behind Wunder, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we actually do. How many of you have used Wunder before? Can I see some hands? That means the rest probably didn't. You should try it. I will show you some screens later on, but you get a better feeling for what we do if you download the app in the App Store and the Google Play Store and try it out yourself. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about who's behind it. Actually, about 25 people working in Hamburg, Germany on this. I will just introduce 3 right now, because otherwise it would take a little bit long. Also today I brought some of the colleagues, also I brought my wife, Sarah. We just got married 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of like a honeymoon for us. And then Simon and Patrick from the product team, maybe you can quickly stand up, because if you want to connect with us later on, you can also talk to these guys. They have the Wunder shirts and look like nice people, so just talk to them. And they are nice. Okay, so Wunder was founded about 1.5 years ago from Gunnar Froh, who before that worked in Airbnb, basically he joined Airbnb when they had 30 employees, and he did something similar in Germany, and then when Rocket Internet, some of you might have heard of them, started to copy Airbnb in Germany, he was like, shit, how am I going to do this? If Rocket Internet is doing it, maybe I should collaborate with Airbnb. That actually worked out fine. So Airbnb acquired the small team, they launched the first international office of Airbnb, and then Gunnar basically led the international expansion and left the company 2 years later when they were at around 2,000 employees. And coming out of that, he also had the idea of taking the sharing economy and that thought of sharing your assets from housing or apartments to cars or rides. Probably some of you know that there are similar companies, and I will talk about that later on. But he wanted to do that in Germany because there was nothing like that in Germany. Started to do that, and 3 months after they had the first app, and then I joined, and now I will talk a little bit about myself. I studied computer science and business management. I was 7 years at Lufthansa, German Airlines, before I decided that I wanted to go full-time into startups. And I did my first full-time startup, which was a gift recommendation platform that is still online. So if you need some gift for your partner or your friends, go to www.mywish.is, and within a few clicks you will find a perfect gift for your loved ones. I did that for 1.5 years, and then I met Gunnar, who was telling me about Wunder. And within 3 days I basically left my old startup that I founded and said, I want to be part of this journey of really making a difference in urban transportation and creating a better product for a basic need, such as getting from A to B every day. Then the third person in the leadership team is Sam. He joined about a year later, so that was in the beginning of this year. and he is from the Valley. He wanted to go to Europe, and he's also a partner at VC, but he wanted to go back into startups, and yeah, he's leading the operations. Gunnar is doing marketing, analytics, and public policy, and I'm the head of product and engineering called CPO. So this is like the team, and then there are about 20 people that work with us on that and that make possible what we do. And what are we doing? Well, basically we're trying to solve a problem like every good startup probably should try to do. And the problem is not making the taxi experience better, or you don't get a taxi, so you should get a Wunder or something. But the problem that we are trying to tackle, is that there are so many cars out there going from A to B, but most of the seats are empty. That is, I think, a problem because it's crowding. It's crowding the streets, and it's also a big waste because you could have people sitting there, right? And probably there are people that want to go in the same direction, but they cannot find those empty seats. There is no real way to connect them. So basically our solution is that we have a mobile app that helps connecting people going into the same direction. And the benefit for those people is that as a driver you can make some money to basically cover the cost of your car. And as a guest you have a better experience getting from A to B. And even you could think about not having your own car if most of the time you don't use it, but when you want a car, you can just share a ride with somebody else. And for both parties, it's an additional, maybe emotional value there, that because you're meeting people every day that you haven't met before, that live around where you live, and you can basically grow your network with Wunder. Yeah, that's kind of like the idea and the problem solution kind of. And for those of you who have never seen it, and it's, like I said, maybe not so easy to see it here, so download the app. You can do it right now. So the flow for how to get a ride share as a guest is pretty simple, and it looks very much like any other taxi hailing app, because the process doesn't really have to be different. If you want to share a ride, or if you buy a ride from a taxi driver or Uber, and you just say where you are, you say where you want to go, you book in advance. That's a little bit of a difference to a traditional taxi hailing app. We're now focusing more on scheduling in advance to get a better chance to find actually a driver that goes into the same direction already. And then the third screen just shows how we're searching for that driver, and then we notify you when we found one. And afterwards, it's basically, from a guest perspective, it's very much like a taxi hailing app, just the difference is the driver wanted to go to that same direction anyways. So as a driver, and this is where we've been improving a lot and working on right now, to make it as easy as possible for drivers that don't want to sell anything, that don't want to do a service to anybody, for those people, like anybody with a car basically, to share rides every day and make that like a frictionless process. Basically the idea is that the guy with the car tells us his like standard routes, and most of the routes happen between home and work. So 80% kind of the traffic in a city is private trips, and it goes from home to work and work to home. So basically we just ask you to type in your home and work address, and then this happens here, and then you can find people like half an hour in advance, 2 hours in advance, 10 minutes in advance, that basically want to leave soon, somewhere near where you work or where you live, to wherever you want to go. In the morning would be to work, and in the afternoon back home. The goal we have is that it's as easy as saying yes for a driver. At some point we will just send you notification as a driver, say in 10 minutes there is this girl around the corner. She also wants to go downtown to Budapest Castle, and why don't you pick her up and give her a ride? And then basically this makes it happen, that people can share rides, because there's not a lot you have to do. We know a little bit where you go, when you go. We have a profile of the driver. That's actually pretty simple, but we can match ride requests from guests that want to go in the same direction. And you don't have a lot of effort, but you can make some money on the side as a driver. So this is kind of like how we're changing the picture and the process as a driver to pick up a guest when you wanted to go drive to work. Before I go now into more of like how we actually started the business and how we grew it, where we are right now, I want to talk about the future of urban transportation and what we think it will look like. In 5 years, we believe it will be just as normal to share rides with your neighbors as it is now to take your own car alone or taking a bus. That's like our basic assumption, and that's where we're working towards. And you probably already thought a lot about, okay, but how are we different to Uber or Lyft or just a regular taxi hailing app? And this is trying to make it a little bit more clearer. But in the end, it all boils down to whether somebody is doing the ride for that other person, or they already did it anyways, and they want to just pick somebody up on the way. And the first step of was the taxi hailing apps that made it really easy to just order a taxi. You can punch a button, you can see the driver approaching, you can pay maybe through the app, so it's a better experience to get a taxi. The new wave of Uber and Lyft and Sidecar and all these American startups, they try to match multiple people in one car, and obviously then it gets a little bit cheaper for everyone. But the driver is still a professional driver, and maybe they don't have a taxi license, maybe they do. It doesn't really matter. I think it makes sense to do that, but it's still a professional driver trying to make a living out of it, and they probably either bought the car for that or they don't do anything else anymore, and they make at least a substantial part of their income is from that. The wave that comes after that, we believe, doesn't just tackle people that can afford to take a cab and maybe do that to go party, but it tackles the everyday use case, and it's addressing a whole different set of drivers or users that have cars. That's what we're trying to build. It doesn't exist right now, and there is also no real concept out there that has done it successfully so far. But I'll also get to that a little bit later. I was asked a little bit to talk about, how did we go about it? How did we start? What happened then? And before I want to do that, I just want to once again clarify what we're trying to do, what our mission is. We want to really accelerate the uprising of sustainable transport by allowing people worldwide to instantly and safely share the empty seats in their cars. It's really about the existing seats in the cars. And that has always been the idea, but the question is how to get there. Because you can imagine that if you have a few users that are trying to request a ride and never a driver accepts you, then those users will stop using it. And on the other hand, if there are some drivers that are, every morning checking the app, but there's no, never there's a match that goes into the same direction, it'll be pretty boring for those drivers, and they will give up trying it. So, a two-sided marketplace, it's the chicken and egg problem, and it's not so easy to solve it. And also companies like Lyft in the States, they try to do ride sharing, where real ride sharing, where you share an existing ride. But after a while, they were kind of overgrown by Uber, and they decided, okay, maybe it's better to have professional, reliable drivers that need the money, and have them to do the rides, sell the rides, and just optimize that system a lot to also get it, reduce it. Actually, in the next slide, I will talk about how we thought about it. Because obviously when we start, we don't want to just create our own little world and think this is how we're going to do it, but we obviously look at the current market, and that's what we did. we looked at what's happening around us, what's happening in urban transportation, and we got some inspiration from the current players. And when we started with the basic app, we did look at apps like Lyft that remind you a lot of taxi hailing apps, and where even to become a driver, it's pretty hard. Like, only people would do that really get something back in terms of money, because there's a pretty long process to it. It's not like turning on the app and then I'll share some rides. That doesn't work. There's a longer process to it. And we also started like that, because we said, okay, we have to be safe, we have to hand select the drivers, and otherwise nobody will trust us. And so we did that, but on the other hand, we also looked at BlaBlaCar, because BlaBlaCar actually works like an open platform where anybody can share rides. They just have the problem that, I mean, it's not a problem, they're pretty big, they're growing pretty fast, but they are in a different space where they're sharing long distance rides, and every time you have a transaction, and I don't know how many of you have used BlaBlaCar or AutoHop or something like that, but there's quite a bit of communication involved when you're trying to share a ride on both sides, on driver's side and guest side. You have to go somewhere first to be picked up. They don't pick you up where you want to be picked up. You have to talk exactly about when and where, and then call them, and all kinds of communication. And this kind of process, we believe, is not going to work if you do that every day, and every morning you want to go to work. You don't want to have all that hassle. So you want to have the comfort of something like Lyft or Uber, but you don't. We want to bring that comfort to a real ride-sharing place where a driver is selling existing capacity. But we started, with the inspiration of Lyft and Uber and BlaBlaCar, and looked what can we bring together in our app. And basically, we just connected pre-selected drivers with guests via GPS. Basic app took like 6 to 8 weeks to develop that. I actually joined Wunder after 8 weeks of development. We had the app, but we had no customers. And my kind of job was to bring us customers. And when we first launched the market, we launched Hamburg. And I guess that makes sense. You launch in a market, a product in a market that you know, and where you feel comfortable. If it's important to you that there's a specific language involved or specific region, then it makes sense to do it there where you live yourself. So that's what we did. We motivated drivers to be online, and also got some traction. But basically, the important thing there was that we just had to listen to users. It was pretty hard to grow at that point, and we had to really measure what's going on. And in the end, we figured out that there are lots of barriers for people to do it. And also, there are so many good alternatives in Hamburg to get from A to B that yes, there is a justification for Wunder, but maybe there are other markets where people have a bigger value when they use us, because the next best option is further away from what we offer. And so after 3 months, we decided to start to experiment in the product a little bit more. After we got this inspiration from existing apps, we wanted to experiment a little bit more, and also obviously optimize the marketing. So what did we do? We obviously improved the app user interaction, but one big step, and I think at that point we had 1% conversion from users signing up to actually using the product. I guess that is pretty bad, but if you have all kinds of barriers, everybody needs to enter a lot of information in order for the platform to be safe. They have to enter a credit card number and they never heard of that brand, just download the app from the store. Nobody's going to do it, and then you end up basically with 1% conversion. And we obviously knew that we have to change that. And also, that's why we optimized the marketing. We learned a lot offline, talked to real people on the street. We kind of put a Wunder right in front of a nightclub, and we told them, here, you use a voucher, please use it for free. The car is over there, you just need to jump in, and you need to download this app. And then they were like, oh, download an app now? Not really. you know, and I was like, but this is a great car, you don't need to pay, this is awesome. But yeah, but I already have my bike here, and I already do this, blah, 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 blah. So we kind of learned a lot from that, what people don't want to do, and changed the product, but then we also shifted the offline marketing to online marketing, where we just were able to measure a little bit better and also scale a little bit after we figured out how to reach the right target group, what to tell them, and yeah, also to make it really easy for new users to get onboarded, to understand how it works, and also, you know, people tend to download an app, maybe check it out once, but then if they don't get it, they delete it or they forget it. So we have to make sure that they don't forget us. And so we started to work on these kind of processes and marketing. And then maybe this is a little bit exciting for you guys then, because then we launched Budapest, sorry. Because we realized that Hamburg is not the best market to go to, and we thought about like independently from where we live, what do we think is a better or perfect market? We made a list of criteria where we think that is important, which included like infrastructure, you know, how good is public transportation, what is the competitive environment, also how many people use smartphones in the city and so on. And then one of the cities was Budapest, and we launched a few cities, and Budapest turned out to work quite well. So we started to grow and invest more into it. So that's kind of how we came to actually operate in Budapest. It was not like the first choice, but after learning a lot and experimenting, we figured out that there are some markets that are specifically good for a certain product, and Wunder turned out to work quite well in Budapest. But yeah, you have to understand there it was not the first market, and we had like a road of, you know, hard days kind of, and weeks and nights where we you know, weren't sure if we're gonna be able to continue. We weren't sure if we're gonna get 1% conversion to 2% or 5%. But in Budapest we started to have like 20-30% conversion, and that's where it gets interesting. If you have paying customers and you know how to get more, and it's kind of, you know, the acquisition cost is so low that it pays off. That's all still kind of, you know, experimenting on an existing product, and it's not so much different from Uber. But what I showed you in the beginning is already showing where we're headed to, and what kind of drivers we want to attract, because they're not going to be drivers, they're just going to be people with cars going to work. So anybody here with a car, who has a car? Not so many? Ah, a few. So you should sign up and give me feedback how you like the experience, and if that's something you could imagine to do every day. Because what we do now is basically really trying to invent how everyday urban carpooling works. I don't want to be, you know, arrogant or anything, but I believe that we are kind of on the front of urban carpooling. There is Uber, I think, leading the way for frictionless and the cheapest possible taxi service. They don't call it taxi, it's a little bit different, but not so much. It goes very much into that direction. There's BlaBlaCar leading the way to the cheapest possible long-distance sharing service or a model. And we are at least one of the companies that are really trying hard and getting traction on a product that is real urban carpooling. We decided to also now not call it ride sharing anymore, but carpooling, because ride sharing, you know, everybody does ride sharing, but in reality it's ride selling. And we just want to make clear that what we do is encouraging people with cars that go to work in the morning to offer their empty seats to people around them. That's where we are, I think, pioneers in that space. And that sounds nice in one or the other ways, but the truth is leading a topic or trying to innovate is pretty hard. and because you're a little bit lonely, and there are no examples of how you should do it. So there are no clear rules also in legislation, and there are so many different options on how you could do it, and you're not quite sure what will work before you do it. I think in the end that's, although that's challenging, it's a lot of fun, because we're building something that nobody else has ever successfully built before, and it's, we're trying to really fill a basic need or accelerate on a revolution in mobility, in urban mobility, where lots of different models make sense, like Uber, like carpooling, car2go, and so on, but nobody has tackled the space of real like ride sharing in the city, where you really have the existing ride. And this is, I think, very challenging, but makes a lot of sense. And we think it will be like that in 5 years. It will be normal. We're trying to be the one doing it then. What we need for that in the team is basically a culture of iterating towards the best possible product based on facts on the one hand, but also we have to be working smarter and really deliver quality products. And that's what we're trying to do. And if you're eager to help us with that, then you're more than welcome to talk to me also today or after the talk, or send me an email. And that brings me to the end of my little speech. The 25 minutes just closed. So thanks a lot for your time and your interest, and talk to us if you want to.
You want to do questions?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. If you want to, you can also ask your questions, and happy to answer. Not so shy?
So, I would have a question. I don't know the exact phrases but I know Uber has a lot of problems in a lot of cities because of tax regulations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you also facing the same problem?
So the question is, Uber is facing a lot of regulatory issues, and are we also facing those issues? Generally speaking, yes, because it is something new and there are no clear rules for it. Also, BlaBlaCar is facing issues in some regions. Generally speaking, also these kind of services where there's really a sharing involved, they don't have so many enemies, so there's not so much regulatory issues because of nobody to complain. And this is kind of similar for us. So right now in Budapest, we don't have any issues or anything. We used to be, I guess who followed the press, whoever followed the press knew that there was discussions going on, but we're also trying to make clear to regulators, but just also to the public how we differ from Uber, because it used to be that we're just kind of in the same basket, we feel to be more in the basket of BlaBlaCar, and there's still not everything is clear. So we're working actually with regulators to find a solution, because we think there should be a solution that is regulated, so it's not like a gray area where people are unsure, can I do it or not? I guess I could, but people want kind of the safety that they don't do anything wrong. So we're obviously interested, if we want to really make it big, to have really a regulation that says what's okay and what is not, and that obviously also has to do with how much money you can make with this kind of system. Yeah, thank you.